Hello guys, welcome once more to this particular session. And this is just we, all of us at Sentisini, saying a very big welcome to each and every one of you, particularly for engaging and signing up for this particular internship. And it promises to be very fascinating, if a very uh, exciting one because we believe that we understand the reason why we made this decision, to be part of this particular internship, this systematic review internship. And for this year, this is our very first cohort. We've had some of this in the past, and as a matter of fact, it has been very successful in the sense that that's one goal, which is ensuring that we have publications, of our choice, in our area of interest is something that makes it really very outstanding. So I want to say something before we start that this internship is 90% practical and 10% uh, theory. Okay. So we are going to explain how within the next couple of minutes how our internship is going to run, uh, the modalities. I'm sure each and every one of you received emails with respect to the outline for this internship, but we're just going to run over that again. And once again, I'm saying a very big welcome to each and every one of you for this particular decision. Now, another thing I'm going to point out before I share I show my screen is that one of the key information you need to have for you to become really very good in doing a systematic review is you need to be very much open to practicing, right? Before now, we've had several sessions where we, engage participants in several domains of a systematic review. We've had sessions on systematic review design thinking. We've had sessions on, critical appraisal, several areas about systematic review. But what we want to do, the intention of this particular internship is that we want to make sure participants get that opportunity to put their hands to work. And that's why we are saying a very big welcome. This definitely promises to be a very outstanding one. And by the end, we are looking forward to having our names on the paper and also getting our certificates. I would also want to inform you that this is it's a certificate-based internship. So it means that there should be an evidence that you passed through the walls of our, instruction. So that is definitely going to be that. I'm just going to keep that really, really short because of time. We don't really have so much time. And we're going to talk about the structure, how it's going to run. I'm going to talk about that in the next 2 minutes. And that's what I'm going to talk about. Now, if you look at the outline that was sent to you, I'm just going to show you that. I'll just give me a second. So I'm sure we all got this flyer and all of that. So we're going to explain how it's going to run, okay? Like I said, this internship is going to be 90% practical and 10% instructional session. Now, tonight is going to be our first instructional session, and we're going to be talking about how to, get started writing the introductory part of the systematic review. And then on Wednesdays, you expect your cluster leads. We have what we call cluster leads, okay? There are people who are in charge of your clusters. They would always reach out to your Google Classroom where you've been assigned and they understand the progress, okay? Then next Friday, we're going to have another session on search strategy and identification. So our session that we'll be having every Friday is going to be practical based. So what it means is that once we are done with this particular session, right, we'll send the record and we'll share the resources to the group. and you guys are going to be grouped with your cluster leads. So you get straight into practical. So you have 1 week till the next Friday before you engage in the next task. All right. So on 13th, we'll talk about search screening and screening studies and reviewing. And then the upper one, we look at data synthesis and then how to format your manuscript. Now, as a matter of fact, one might ask, this is a collaborative systematic review. This is a collaborative systematic review project. So what it means is that we want you guys to have the capacity to develop that team collaboration, right? Develop that capacity in having the ability to collaborate in executing a systematic review. So you get to network with yourselves and also get to ask questions, reach out to your cluster leads and all of that. We also advised that if you want to also be at the top of your game, particularly during this session, we also recommended us to get participants who are interested to also be exceptionally at the top of their game. We recommended that it's recommended for you to get our full systematic review course. Okay, so this is actually a course that leads you from nothing to publication. So it's recommended that for you to also be very ruthless, particularly in understanding deeply the domains and all of that. It's really recommended for you to do what? Get the course. The course is almost worth nothing. So the only thing you need to do is the link to the course is going to be dropped on the chat, but it's really recommended for participants to also get it. But if you also have experience of how to conduct a systematic review and you feel like collaborating, this is also a very good opportunity. We can definitely continue to go ahead. But the course is also really very recommended. Okay. So that is definitely going to be that. So what we are going to be talking about in the next couple of minutes, it's we're going to be looking at how to, you know, get started. Basically, we're going to be talking about how you're going to be getting started, from learning to publication. Okay. Now, what this internship is about, I've basically talked about that, right? I could just want to snap over that again. This is not a lecture series. Uh, when you engage in practicals, you build your practical memory. Like you build your skills when you engage in practicals. But you have cluster leads that will definitely be out there to guide you and also reach out to you, all right? So that's actually very important. The idea behind this systematic reviews, I want to challenge ourselves. Want to challenge ourselves to have a manuscript ready in 30 days. As a matter of fact, we are 30 days away from putting this out, and it's possible. The learning process is going to be tasky, and it's quite very imperative for you to engage, practice, and also your cluster leads. They will have what we call a form. There's a form that's going to be provided to them. So it's as a result of your participation that will determine if you will be certified through this internship. So all these things are very important for me to address, particularly at this commencement. So we really we see we are taking this internship serious. We are really, really, really concerned about your success. So all the things you need to do is going to be provided, and all you need to do is to do what? Make sure you do what you engage and carry yourself along. Now, I might want to talk about what a systematic review is, right? Now, in my normal tradition, I might want to start defining the terms in a systematic review. But what makes some sense, right, is that I show you an output of what a systematic review publication looks like. And that's now going to give you some kind of insights of what you're going into. Now, I could come online here and I'll type systematic review on anything, on breast cancer or prostate cancer or anything. So let me just type something that I'm familiar with, maybe in Nigeria, for example. Let me just use in Nigeria. Now, this comes out, right? So I'm going to look at this. So I'm just going to click on this. Now, I haven't, maybe you're a newbie here, you don't know what systematic review is, but it's good for your brain to have a flash of what the final outcome looks like. Then we can now have some quick discussion about it. All right. Before I hand over to, you know, others to. Okay, so I'm definitely going to let that load, and I'm just going to just look at umbilical cord uh here. Let me use our director. Okay. All right, so that seems to be. All right, so like I said, the first thing I'm going to do is to show you what a systematic review looks like, what's the expected output of what we are going to be doing. Now, I could show you this. I was trying to show you two papers. Probably my network was kind of a bit messy. And this is one of them. So this is one of it. So this is one of the papers we published back back in 2025. And I don't know. I'm just wanted to show you another type. I'm just trying to show you two designs. Okay. Okay. I think I could go back. All right. So this is it. So this is the paper. So this is another paper that we published as well sometime. And I could still add another one. So we could just have a look. Meeting. So David. All right. So um, I don't know why it's not coming forth. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at this now. Okay. Now you could just look at this and so we've all been assigned into various clusters, and there are some key things that you have been doing in your formal research that also applies to writing a systematic review. As a matter of fact, writing a systematic review is very simple. It's one of the easiest things to write. And the reason is that you just need to follow a guideline, follow what your instructor is going to tell you. We're not here to tell you this is how to write A, B, C, D, or this is how to put your hand to write your paper. Systematic review is easy to publish in the sense that once you follow a given guideline, you're definitely going to get it done. Once you follow a guideline, chances are there that your work is going to get published. And that's what we want to look at now. So we assume that maybe somebody that's attending this session now, this is your first time to hear about a systematic review. What are we talking about today? We're just talking about introduction and how to register your systematic review. Do you understand? We're just going to talk about how to write an introduction because we are taking it bit by bit. We don't want to rush things. We don't want to put you into quagmire. We don't want anybody to run into chaos or run into quagmire. We just want to make it very, very simple. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is that there's no difference between you and these people that published this paper. There is no difference. The only thing stopping you now is what? Following the guideline and doing exactly what we ask you to do, exactly what your cluster lead asks you to do. Once you're assigned into groups, you're already in your cluster. Probably some of you in your cluster might be splitted, so that everybody can get to participate. Once you do exactly what you're asked to do, your name is going to be on this screen. You're going to definitely have your own publication. So this is not an expert session. We don't expect the experts to be here. We are assuming that we are all learning. So that's why I want to take it bit by bit. Now, you can always go online and search systematic review, right? Before I start learning anything, I'll see what has been done. That is one of the code. You look at what has been done, then you now compare it to yours. There is no need about me reading so many slides here showing you how to do it, but just look at what has been done and then now add it to what your cluster lead is going to ask you to do. Now, if you look at this systematic review here, right, you have a topic. So it means that by default, we all have a topic here. Everybody here has a systematic review topic. And there's something we call frameworks we use in formulating a topic. We'll talk about that later. Now, why we are here today is for the introduction. So it means that a systematic review is going to have an introduction. Let's take a look at this other paper here. Okay, no, not this. I think this is the same. Let's take a look at this other systematic review paper here. It has an introduction. And if you look at this introduction, we're looking at around how many words? Literally, almost all of us here has written an introduction before. Probably you wrote your research, your assignment, your supervisor asked you to write an assignment, or maybe your tutor asked you, okay, do this as do so and so seminar, or write so and so project, or whatever thing, and you wrote an introduction. It is the same thing that you do in a systematic review. Do you understand? So this is the approach we are trying to use now to explain this now. It is still the same thing. How do you write the introduction? Let's take, for example, you're in a cluster and the topic that was assigned to you in this cluster was, for example, here, let me just show, maybe here you have a systematic review on youth-led community-driven environmental initiative, blah, 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 and all of that, right? Now, to write your introduction, I'm not checking slides now. We are talking about what we get published. To write your introduction, you need to pick your variables one by one. So it means that as you guys are gathered here now, you're going to be splitted. So it means that if we have 4 people, 6 people, 9 people in a group, each and every one of you is expected to do what? Send in an introductory draft to your what? To your cluster lead to inspect. So the role of our cluster lead now is to do what? Is to go through what we've been doing. Every other thing I might want to talk about, how to formulate this, how to position this, we'll have a lot of sessions where we've talked about all those things, right? Of course, of which we'll still highlight here. But the idea here is that what when you're writing your introduction, you're picking it what concept by concept. I'll go back to this example again. We are talking about maybe antimicrobial stewardship in reducing antimicrobial resistance. You need to first of all tell us what is antimicrobial resistance and maybe stewardship, first body of your paragraph. And while you're writing, there are rules and regulations we have in academic writing. While you're writing, you must make sure you're citing everything that you're putting down. Because all these articles that we are publishing, we don't just send it and it gets published. The journals, the journal repositories or the journals or whatever thing that you call it, will still go through it, make some comments, ask questions. Why was this thing not crossed this way? Why was that not crossed that way? But the idea here is that what we want to start. Let us start. That is the best way to learn something. The best way to learn is what we have started. Let's write our introduction. And if you look at this, if you look at the nature of this introduction here, you see that there are what we call data and statistics. Anytime you're writing your introduction, you see all these things, numbers, you see this thing, you see all these numbers that you're seeing here, they must be present in your argument. You're introducing antimicrobial resistance. You need to use data to back it up. If you don't want to use data, you can use what we call theories to do what? To back up your evidence. Because as we are done with this session now, a task is being assigned to us and we are getting started. This week is to do what? Write our introduction and register our what's it called? Our topic on Prospero, which I'm going to talk about the Prospero in a couple of minutes. But right now, what I'm talking about is what? How to write your introduction. Introduction to systematic review. How do we write our introduction? That is what we want to talk about today. So your topic has already been formed. You already have a topic. If I would have been talking about how to formulate it, how to use a framework. But basically, if you look at all these topics, right, you see that what a framework was used in formulating it. What do we mean by a framework? We don't just form a topic, we need to identify, oh, which population group do we want to inform? Now let me explain it this way now. I stopped showing my slides because I don't want us to be so kind of glued to slides and all of that. I just want to explain it in a way that we all understand. Let me talk about this now. Before you start a project now, what are the things that comes to your mind? Let me say currently now, as I'm seated here now, and let's say you're in my cluster, right? And we want to start a project. The first thing I'm going to ask you is, what are you thinking? What's on your mind? Now, there is a scientific process of asking those questions. I could say, oh, I'm thinking about my maybe one girl I dated last year. Okay, so probably what's on my mind right now is a girl, or maybe something, or women of childbearing age, or maybe uh men that are aged 60 years and above. That is just what we call something on your mind. So that's your P. So your population group, you have something in mind. Good. Now ask you another question. Okay, among this P, what condition are you thinking? Oh, I'm thinking about diabetes right now. So I'm thinking about women first. That's my P. Now, the problem I'm thinking about now is what? Diabetes. That's your what? Condition. Now, we can now ask you again, okay, which place do you have in mind now? Oh, I'm thinking about Africa. Oh, I'm thinking about West Africa. Oh, I'm thinking about Abuja. Oh, I'm thinking about Imo State. Oh, I'm thinking about Cameroon. I'm thinking about South Africa. That is what? A setting. So now the next thing you could ask now is, okay, are you thinking of an intervention? I'm thinking about how people injection maybe that is given to women at first week of pregnancy, or injection. I don't even know why I'm just talking about women. Let me say something else. Let me say, okay, I'm thinking about drugs that are given to all these things are mostly medically related, but we can look at it as I'm thinking about government policies. So how we form a topic, because you could see a lot of textbooks, this one say this, that, and that. How we form a topic is by amalgamating these concepts. Your P, there's something we call PICO. I could just flash my slide now, show you PICO. PICO framework. We have our population, intervention, comparator, outcome. Okay, what outcomes are you thinking? Well, I'm thinking about all-time mortality. Or I'm thinking about maybe reduction in fever, or I'm thinking about death, or I'm thinking about maybe I'm thinking about body changes in body mass index. So it's when all these things that you're thinking in your head, a lot of you here, you're carrying 50,000 topics on your head. But the issue now is what? There is a framework we use in organizing it. And that's what we call PICO framework, SPIDER, PCC, and all of that. The resources is going to be sent to you. But what points are we now? We already have it running title. So I just talked about it. I thought about the need to still let you know how these topics are being what formulated. It's very simple, very, very simple. On your own, I've had several sessions where participants are generating millions of topics using several frameworks. So for you to publish a systematic review is very simple. In short, as a matter of fact, the last systematic review that we had that was accepted on, I can't remember, I think, okay, ivermectin and on scabies. I just walked into a cyber cafe sometime in January. That was in January. So I was like, oh, I just opened my article. I saw something on scabies and ivermectin. I was just like, let me just update this systematic review. That was how I just did it. Turned it to updated systematic review. Search for new studies because I looked at what the authors published. I was like, okay, there is need for us to give an update. Let me update it. Then I updated it and pushed it, and it was accepted. It led to a meta-analysis. So just zero your mind. If you've heard about systematic reviews, whether you're in pre-nursery, you're in primary school, kindergarten, it's simple. What we are doing today is simple. How to write an introduction. Okay? So that's it. So you look at this introduction, that's how I used to do when I was learning how to do research. There is no need of attending, it just get so many things of people, what people have done. Look at this person's own, look at this person's own, look at this person's own, and then I begin to see where the T and the I is missing. Do you understand? So it's simple. If you want to get the best out of yourself, look at guides. You understand? Look at what this person has done. Before you even send that rubbish to me, you look at what the guidelines that was given to you and check if it aligns with what you were asked to do. Because we want to graduate this cohort, we want to graduate you guys as people who are what? Professors of systematic reviews. That is our aim. We are more concerned in you people being what? Becoming exceptional in how to write a systematic review. So just pay attention to this introduction. You see how what data was introduced. You look at it, there's something we call funnel shape. So when you're writing your introduction, you follow the funnel shape. We started here globally, right? Now watch, observe. We started coming down to Africa. And then watch, observe. From there, what? Nigeria. You see? Are you seeing it? Are you observing it? Nigeria. Because most people attend sessions on systematic reviews and all that, but nobody really teaches you how to write it. Because what we are doing here is to teach you how to write it. We're not here to read slides for you. It's going to be 90% practical, 10% instructional session. So if you look at this topic now, like, all right, so if you pay attention to this topic because you're going into practical soon, if you look at this topic, you see that we started from the global part. So if you're defining something, you start from the global, then you come down to maybe if you maybe if you're maybe looking at the Mediterranean areas, probably you might maybe refer there. But if you start from the global, you come down to Africa if you're in Africa. But if you're in Europe, fine, you go to Europe, then probably maybe Portugal. Or maybe if you're in South America, maybe globally, you review data globally, define the term first. And after defining it, you make sure you cite. Because this is our key academic rules and regulations so many people don't adhere to. You must make sure you're citing. Because if you don't produce systematic reviews that is worthy, we won't graduate you guys and will not move it forward. So you need to make sure what all your statements are backed up. Every place that you hit a full stop, there needs to be a support. So far, it's not your own tone, but it doesn't mean you don't need to write in your own tone. Of course, you can. Like for example, here now, let me show you something. Now look at this part now. Okay, I don't know where my cursor has kind of disappeared. Okay, I've recovered it. So if you look at this part, that's this part, you're going to see that what it's my own tone now. That's my tone. So it's not if I say everywhere there is full stop, you should cite. You now say, okay, you will not put your own tone, right? So this is my own tone. So that means at this point here now, I'm the one, I don't necessarily need to start. But from there onwards, anywhere you drag literature, you must hit a full stop. I trust our cluster leads now to make sure we get everything up to standard. So don't worry, write your introduction, get it set. That's a good starting point. Then we'll talk about what registering your protocol. So based on this now, I'm going to go ahead to define concepts. I'm going to define genetic susceptibility. I'm going to talk about, there are a lot of terminologies that are in line. You don't just need to pour it inside AI, ChatGPT, and bring it out, right? Because at the end of it, we'll still run it through checkers to be sure you did what we asked you to do. Do you understand? So that is just basically that. So you look at, so many places, numerous studies, you cite, you come down funnel shape, funnel shape. Always remember that if you're writing your introduction, it has to be in a funnel shape, funnel from global down to Nigeria. If it's something like a cross-sectional study, all these projects you guys write in Africa and all of that, probably you might even narrow down to maybe Imo State, or it has to be in a fun. You don't talk about Nigeria up, Then in the middle, you're talking about America. Then in the bottom, you're talking about Congo. No, it has to follow a funnel shape. Define your terms, define your terminologies. All right. So you need to do what? Define your terms. So that is what I'm going to be talking about for now. I'm not really going to go so much into details. The next part I'm going to talk about is I'm just going to show you guys the slides, just to give some justice to it, because basically I've just showed you a structure of an introduction of a systematic review, but I think it's going to be fair enough for me to define it. What's a systematic review? Let's say, for example, I want to buy a dog, right? And I want to buy a dog now, and I want to buy the best dog. That will be my friend, a dog. Oh no, no, let me say it this way. Let me say I'm looking for a partner now, right now, and I need like five partners, five. Now, and I'm looking for a good partner. That's an example I'm giving now, okay? I'm not looking for, but I'm just giving an example. So now what do? I have to follow a rigorous process. I'll go to uh maybe I'll go to the church, this church here, I'll go to another church, I'll go to the school. All these things are what? Databases and all of that. Then at the end of the day, maybe I get 50 people from this church, get 50 people from this church, get 50 people from this school. Then I'll now screen them, check, oh, this one is too dark, or this one is too fair, this one is an albino, oh, this one is no, no, no. Then I'll now remove the ones that I will see at first sight. I'll push those ones out. Then they would remember I'll be left with like 100. Then I'll now have the conversation with them, full text screening. Then at the end of the day, I will now, oh, this one doesn't have a good character, and all of that. Then I will now choose five. This is what a systematic review is all about. Now, what does it mean? If I lay down the guidelines I used in getting that partner to somebody else, bro, this was what I followed, and that person follows that same guideline, they will get the same five people. Not just the same five people, they will get the same five quality of partners that I got. That is what the systematic review is. I sat down in that cafe. I saw a report on scabies. I raised the research question. What is the effectiveness of ivermectin compared to topical whatever rubbish in reducing scabies? What did I do? I synthesized it because most times English is difficult to understand, right? I'm sure we are all English people here. We follow a structured approach. I followed this. I said, okay, I'm following Prisma. Please, Jonah editors, I am following this guideline. They said, okay, yes. I followed that guideline, followed it, searched databases, told them, see where I searched to, in case people want to confirm, see where I searched, see the terms I used, see the criteria I used in picking my studies, in picking those partners, which are those studies. Now, see what and what I did, see how I analyzed my result, see how I discussed it. This is my study. This is what I found. Publish it for me. This is exactly what a systematic review is all about. So I'm not really going to, I believe that explanation was was uh, was very, very, very clear, right? So I believe that explanation was very, very clear. All right. So now, there are some of the key characteristics there: structured process, clear method, specific questions, no issues with that. All right. That's very simple. All you need to know that what we want to get into now is what is structured, is what is structured, and there is a guideline that we are following to write it, which I'm going to point out now. Now, there are several types of systematic reviews that we have. We have a qualitative. Now, if you look at the topics that was assigned to you guys, let me show you guys that. Now, if you look at some of these topics now, by virtue of talking about types of systematic reviews, some of them here falls into uh, quantitative, some falls into qualitative, but a vast majority from what I can see here are quantitative, except that maybe probably this one for traditional class, I might decide to use a qualitative approach, or maybe the one for uh, yeah, I think that's just because probably the environmental climate change. We might want to use a qualitative angle to view the systematic review. That's just what we're talking about. So, what's a qualitative systematic review? A one that's trying to answer questions about quality, right? Don't confuse yourself. It's very simple, right? Anything that is going to use thematic analysis or any type of systematic review topic that your cluster has chosen that might require maybe looking at qualitative reports of how, why, all those stuffs, right? That is just what it is. I'm trying to make this thing like really very easy and simple, and I believe it is. So meta-analysis, I doubt we are really going to be going so depth into that because this is a beginner series. So we don't want to mess things up. We want to keep things very, very soft. Okay, so we have a meta-analysis. It's also another type of systematic review, but quantitative, just call it quantitative, right? Then we'll have scoping review. Okay, so but in this internship, we're going to focus on publication ready systematic review. I just heard something. I heard a sound now. So I wanted to know. Okay, yeah. So that is that. All right. So still explaining the structure. We're starting with what? Introduction, right? So we're going to start with the introduction, which is the background and rationale. And your cluster leads is going to supervise what you've written, the background, the rationale. What's the rationale? Why do you want to conduct this systematic review? So you're not just, if you pay attention to this here, I'm just going to show you something right now. So if you pay attention to, okay, let me show you something now. So if you pay attention to this now, to this introduction now, let's pay attention. We're also going to look at this introduction as well. Now you see that there is what we call what? A rationale. This is more like the reason why we are doing this systematic review. Remember back what I said. I sat down, I saw a systematic review on what do you call it? On whatever, scabies, right? On scabies, and I updated it. What was my rationale? My topic and the top person's topic I saw was just the same thing. But the only difference between my own topic and that person's own was that I added an updated systematic review. So my rationale, the reason why I did it was because I made claims that person's systematic review is outdated. It was published sometime in 2009 or so. That there's a need for me to update it, and that's it. So your own rationale could be that, oh, you feel that because when we're talking about rationale, we have to be pointing at these cluster topics here. Your own rationale could be that what? Oh, for this environmental
Exactly.
that most of the studies has focused on women or whatever, but there is lack of study depth on youth-led community-based system. This thing I'm saying is what you will write here. It can be, in this part now, there is no heading on rationale, but this is the rationale, right? The rationale is grounded within these two paragraphs. Because here now I will say to address this gap, I made that argument here that Nigeria in particular represents a critical context of investigation. This is the rationale here. This is where I made that argument. I said here that previous studies have shown that Nigerian men often present with more blah, 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 and all of that, right? Late detection. Moreover, this, that, and that, and then weaker registration systems and all of that. So to address that gap, previous studies now has focused on infrastructure, low distance, socioeconomic disparities, and all of that. But I wanted to address that gap by pulling a systematic review, pulling prevalence estimates. Let's know the number. That was the argument I was making. It's not hard. It is simple. It is very simple. It is not hard. As a matter of fact, I will tell you guys the truth. We know that I shouldn't be telling you that a systematic review can take you, uh, it can take you 24 hours to do. If I tell you that, it's going to sound very crazy. That why should I say that? Maybe a professor here is that, what do you mean? Why should it take 24 hours? But I feel like once you're able to get your studies, I'm spilling the tea. I don't have to hide anything from you guys. Once you have your studies selected and you're good in writing, it's done. It is done. So when we even say 30 days, it's good. It's cool. So, but the key thing here is that with the advancements now in technology and all of that, it is so simple. So, what I'm saying, what point am I trying to buttress? What I'm saying is that what outside of writing your funnel stuff, you also need to do what? Get your rationale. Tell us the reason. Because your cluster leads will be checking it. They will be like, okay, you submitted this draft. You submitted this part of this paragraph because everything is going to be shared. They will ask you, why didn't you make it? Why should we do this review? It should be written in our introduction. And if there's any literature claim, what do I mean by literature claim? If there's anything that you copied online or you drew your idea from somebody or you made him your idea inferred from literature, then you have to do what? Support it with what? A citation. You need to do what? Support it with what? A citation. So go ahead. So that's for method. I'm not going to be talking about method, result, all those parts. We'll talk about that in our next sessions. But our week one target now is what? Introduction and registration. So we'll make sure we have a very detailed understanding of that. So the next part, structure. This is just kind of understanding the structure of writing a very simple systematic review. That a very simple systematic review, you're going to have methods. You are going to have results. You're going to have conclusion. You're going to have discussion. All these things are definitely going to be there. What am I saying? What am I saying? A newbie is here, and the person is wondering what I'm talking about. This is methods, right? This is just me showing you the structure of it. This is what we call study selection. All these are still method. Then this is result section. So it means that a time we come, we talk about that. And then this is findings, still on results, still going down. So this is discussion. You remember we talked about it here, discussion. And okay, I think I was here. And this is all the other. You can add your both your limitations, strengths, future, they are all part of discussions, okay? Then you have your conclusion, all right, which is what we're definitely going to have here. Okay, so you could start to maybe talk about your implications and all of that as conclusion, but regardless, it could be used interchangeably, but that is just what the structure looks like. So you're like, I can't wait to write my introduction right now and register my article on Prospero. All right, so you might be hearing Prospero, but I've not said anything about it. I've not said Jack. So then the next thing is going to be your research clusters, right? So you've already been I don't know if that's is okay. So you've already been placed in six. We have six different clusters. We have our environmental health and climate change. We have the infectious and global health. We have the chronic disease epidemiology. We have the pharmaceutical and biomedical. We have the machine learning and computational. We have the traditional and consumer. Of course, by in our next cohort, we should have more clusters, many more clusters. Okay, so we are definitely going to have as many more clusters. But this is a very good focal point, and being the first cohort, we really want you guys to be at the top of your game. All right. So that is that. So then the next thing is what we'll cover. Uh, I'm going to show you guys what the Prisma looks like because when I started having this conversation, I mentioned that we have a guideline that we follow, right? And I'm going to just show you what that guideline looks like. Okay, so that's just what I'm going to give you. I'm just going to give you guys kind of a snapshot of what the guideline looks like. And yeah, so welcome once more to this internship. Yeah, your cluster leads definitely is going to be keeping in touch with you guys. You already have the topics. I believe after this session, they will definitely post the topics on the respective chat, but you can always share your messages there. Of course, some groups like particularly for the chronic disease and the infections, you guys are going to be further split into two. So you're going to be giving more top two. Yeah, you're going to be working on two different topics so that you guys can always show maximum participation. All right. So at the end of the day, for everybody in each group, you all have your names on the paper, that will be published. So you can always make that reference point that yes, this was one of the insights Sentisini handed to me, during my systematic review internship. So you guys are going to get a lot of assignments, role assignments, particularly for this part of writing an introduction. You're going to be asked to do some certain things and also registration, which is what I'm going to be talking about. Because one of the first things we do before we start a systematic review is to register it on Prospero. All right. And I'm going to talk about what that looks like. But then the bulk majority of it is what your cluster leads is going to, of course, explain to you guys, and show you guys, much more details and all of that. But just to have it in mind that before you start a systematic review, you have to register it on a repository or in a database. That is the first thing. So after you're done writing introduction, it gives you some kind of insight of how to explore literature. You need to do what? Register your what? Systematic review. So registration sometimes can come at the ending and all of that, but I feel like we might still have to get started with our introduction so that we can start getting started with something, because some of the methods and all of that, you might not really, really, really understand that while we start navigating, the interface for Prospero registration. Because some of us here who are newbies, probably if I open the portal where we register our systematic review, so think about it this way: for me to get a partner, I have to go and register it on the marriage council. I have to register it there. I have to register it that this is what I want to get married to. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this one. Please hold me accountable in the next 40 years. This is what I did. So that's what we do in systematic review. Before we get started with systematic review, we register it. All those things that I talked about, we'll search this database, we'll do this one, we'll do that one. There is a repository, there's a database where we register it. I'm just going to show you what it looks like. But then, because of the domain, the nature of the registration, we can also have do the practice towards maybe week 3. All right. So don't worry, don't worry. We are starting with writing our introduction, right? If I start talking about the domains of that, I might start interfering into the other topics of what you need to do in week 2 and week 3. All right. And it's going to keep this session long, but we just wanted to keep this conversation very simple. All right. I'll show you what the registration looks like, but I'm not going to go so much in depth. I'm just going to show you how the database is the repository where we register what we want to do. So think about it this way. Let me give another example here. If you're a newbie, you've not done a systematic review before. Let's say, for example, you have a proposal, your project, right, in your chapter 1 or whatever, your chapter 1 to 3 of your school project. So usually you do what we call proposal defense, right? Some of us here, we do what we call proposal defense. So that's what a systematic review is. But now it's not that we'll do the proposal defense, but we'll just notify the public somewhere in a database that see what and what we want to do, right? See what our method is going to look like. Look at what is going to be. This is going to be that. That's going to be that. Then at the end of the day, what happens now is that they'll approve it, right? Good. But then when the reviewers start going through your work, they want to compare if what you said in that place is actually what you did. So it's not something you need to worry about now, right? What you need to get started with right now is what? How to write your introduction and seeing the guidelines for writing a systematic review. Very simple, very easy. Submitting your tags, Very, very important. So remember, this is a collaborative work, so you definitely get to network with yourselves and also understand how systematic review is being written and all of that. So I'm just going to show you what the Prisma sets stuff looks like, right? So now the question now is somebody might be asking, do when I just start writing my introduction, is there not like a guideline? There is. Nothing starts without a guideline. There was one person that first initiated this institution of marriage. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Let me talk about something different. There was somebody that started this whole research. That seems similar again. There was somebody that started how to make Arabian tea. Okay, drink Arabian tea, right? Or maybe to how to cook rice. Somebody started it. And now then along the line, the person that established a guideline, put curry, put maggi, put your wash your rice, then put your flush it inside your pot. And then it will give you this. Ladies and gentlemen, that is how a systematic review is being done. How do we get started with a systematic review if you've never done it in your life before? Like, if you've never done it in your life. So you always go online. There are two guys in sometime in 1986 or thereabout. I think they started the whole evidence, trying to follow reporting guideline. So sometime in 1982 or thereabout. But then there has been a review sometime in 1911, 9/11, I'll be 1911, where some researchers tried to, pull information together to summarize and to summarize findings. Let me use that word, better English. I'm not really an Englishman, right? So they pulled those findings together, and then along the line, let's say everybody's just pulling their own findings together. Everybody's getting scattered. This person followed this one. This person followed this other one, and that person followed that one. There was not a need. We're not like, guys, all this is that everybody's just summarizing so many literature together. Don't we just come up with a reference point that even a baby that they just gave birth to today, let's say somebody is 10-year old now, and and you want to do a systematic review and publish it, and you're like, you want to challenge your professor by doing your own systematic review to publish it. Of course, it's possible. So just follow that guideline. And guys, that is what I want to show you. And you now see in that guideline that the first thing there is introduction, which is what we're going to do this week. So let me show you that. So I'm going to say Prisma guidelines. So I'm searching that online. So I'm just going to check on this now. Probably search the 2020 guideline. Then I'm going to choose the PDF version. Okay. And all right, good. Now you can see the first thing we have here is title. You need to have a topic. Because before you come for fight, you guys get topic. You have to have a reason to make your case. The police is asking you, make your case. So you need to come up with a topic. Then the second thing is an abstract. Although this abstract is the last thing we're going to write because it's kind of the summary of the work. So I'm not really going to say it's kind of the second as per. Yeah, it's based on the structure of your arrangement. You have an abstract. But the first thing that you will do, the first action that you will take is what? Your introduction. Are you seeing that this is how to write a systematic review? Are you seeing that a systematic review is simple? Your cluster leads are experts. Some of them are very grounded. They have publications to show. So you need to pay attention to them. They're going to direct you. They're going to guide you. So all you need to do is just to do what? Pay rapt attention to your cluster leads. Watch their comments. This internship is what? 90% practical, 90% practical, 10% what? Talk. So it means that this 1 hour conversation that I've had now is something we're going to have next week. All right. So next week we'll have an instructor, then we'll do the task for that next week. So there is no time. There is no time. This is not something of you go and relax. In 1 month's time, you are all graduating. So there is no time. So immediately the pot is landed on your lap. you start working immediately. Go to your cluster group, you chat, you communicate, and all of that. So, like I said, if you still feel like you want to get much more insights, right? Detailed insights, I'm sure the link to the course should have been posted on the chat because I can't see the chat. Okay. So the link is going to be posted there. Or it's also going to be dropped on the general group, right? But it's not a big deal. Like I said, it's not a big deal. It's just about what? Putting it down. So many people have watched so many tutorial help, and all of that. This session is on what? How to write your introduction. So after that, we'll have methods. It's going to be snappy because, like I said, one of the reasons why we recommended that is because of what? Some of these key areas in our methodology. So you need to be updated ahead on time, right? It's going to be really helpful for you. If it's going to help you guys, we will tell you. We'll tell you. But the only thing stopping you from having a publication now is what? Action. So you need to make sure you keep up with time. Your cluster leads will check up on you, particularly for your introduction on Wednesday. There are time designated for that. So on Wednesday, they'll check in, uh, unless at their own discretion, if they decide to have extra time with you guys. But that is the stipulated time for them. So means that you guys need to do what? Make sure you pull out your draft, you do the very best, and of course, that's it. So this is just what the guideline looks like. Like I said, everybody came together, had an agreement. This is what our guideline is going to be. This is what it's going to be. This is okay. Let us put it this way, so there won't be confusion. So that when a reviewer picks up your daughter's or your child or your baby or your father or your grandmother's review, and then what the reviewer will be doing is just to be checking this guideline. That's all. They don't want to know who you are. But if it's something like a narrative review, which is very stubborn to publish, they want to know who is this guy that is writing this, that is telling me uh that Postino 2 can reduce whatever. Who is this person? Who is this person? That's a narrative review or something like that. They're like, who are you? What depth of knowledge do you have in literature for you to tell me that this can reduce this? This is what it is, guys. It's not a big deal. Like, you can decide to challenge yourself and even have like come up with two or more or as many as possible. But this is essentially what it is. So I think that is just going to be that. Exactly as promised, we started at 9:14. And I don't know, I just want to see our, you know, somebody say you can't see my screen. Okay, you're asking if it is funded or not. uh that's the publication process. It's not. It depends on where you're texting from, right? So if you're submitting a manuscript from a low and middle income country, the tendencies for you to have a full waiver is there. I can't remember when I'm paying for a publication. So of course, we'll be plunging it into good journals like BMC and all of that. So when we plunge it there, we get feedbacks. We can always apply for waiver and all these things is possible. So nothing, you don't have anything standing, at your way. So all you need to do is just to do what? Your task for today is to do what? This is a group task. Uh, Draft your introduction and write your background, the context, what's the significance of a topic, what's the rationale, why is this systematic review needed now? You need to draw on recent literature and highlight evidence gap. You need to use what we call PICO framework, PICOs, to formulate a precise answerable research question. I basically talked about that, but you don't really need to do this part, right? Because you already have a topic. You all have a what? A topic. All you need to do now is just to get straight into action. What you should be asking now is, where is my group leader? Where is my group? What are we doing? That's a question you need to be asking now. And then you coordinate with your team. Responsibilities is definitely going to be divided, but we want everybody to partake at each stage. All right. And we have expected output from now till our next meeting, which is going to be our introduction. All communications will be on the classroom, all right? We are not texting you anyone. Nobody is reaching out to you. All the conversations we're going to have with you is going to be on the Google Classroom. There's no conversation happens outside of the Google Classroom. So this is a collaborative project. Your cluster leads are not reaching out to you outside of the what? Google Classroom. So that's where all the conversations is going to happen. So they're going to post the chats there. If there is peradventure, you maybe there is any kind of support, external support that doesn't align with, or maybe that is beyond the maybe this particular internship and all of that. Of course, we have our support lines that you can reach out to. We are not, we have our support line essentially. Basically, you can always reach out to our support and then they'll provide assistance to you as need be. But all conversations with our cluster leads will be on the what? On the Google Classroom, so that we can, respect the time and also, maintain ethics and all of that. So we are looking at having a very successful one, and I believe it's definitely going to be one. By this time in the next 4 weeks, we're going to be celebrating having a very splendid, if that's an English language, what, a very splendiferous. Yes, I used to have a friend that identifies as splendiferous. So a very splendiferous session and exercise. Like we said, it's definitely going to be very simple. Uh, if you need much more details, right, you can always, if you need much more detail, nuanced understanding now, you can always check out on the chat. You could get our course. It's definitely going to be very beneficial to you. You can explore it as much possible, as many times as possible. I'm sure my internet now is stable. I'm sure. Can you guys hear me? I don't know. Can you guys
Yes,
hear me?
sir, we can.
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to show you one last thing right now, and that is how we register systematically. That's the last thing I'm going to show you before we conclude the session. So sorry, we waited before starting so that we can have everybody on board. So the last thing I'm going to show you now is that something we call Prospero. All right. So it's an international register where we register our systematic review. So I just wanted to know that before we start a systematic review, we do register it. All right. So this is where we register. We tell the world what we are about to embark in. All right. And this is it. So I'm just going to click on this. So I search Prospero. The recording of this is definitely going to be provided to, it's going to, all the resources is going to be provided at the general group. All right. So we can always access it there. So this is me. I'm currently on Prospero. I'm going to click on register review. Okay. I'm signing in with another account. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to enter my email if I have one, but let me just have you guys experience what that looks like slightly, not really much in depth. Okay. All right, so I'm going to search Prospero. And okay, we're going to let that load. Okay, so it's going to open this. I just wanted the one that will pop out my email, so I don't really waste time. All right, so what I'm saying is that we register our review. But can you publish a systematic review without registering it? Yes. The answer is still yes. You can publish a systematic review without registering it, but it is always advised to register your systematic review. It's good practice. That's what we say it. We call it good practice. So it's important for me to talk about it in this introduction. But we can also do this at the end, right? So that maybe I might decide to register one now, And some of us might not really understand. Maybe when I start going through the methodology and messing around with some things, it might be kind of you know tasky to understand. But we have all of these things incorporated. So I'm just going to click on this. So you see this now, it pops out my email, and yeah, of course, it's going to let me log in. So I'm going to click on register. For example, I'm going to say I have agreed to all these terms. So this is me registering my review before starting. It's going to take me highest 10 minutes. Okay, so it's asking me now, am I registering studies with people or humans as participants? Am I registering animal studies? What do you mean by animal studies? Maybe you're doing something about a systematic reviews on frogs or a systematic review on plant biotechs and all of those kind of rubbish, right? Anything that is not really human based or that is related to, you know, animals, right? Definitely you're gonna do that. So I'm going to click on this, and it's going to ask me, is this record being registered as a okay, this is not being registered as part of a student project or training course, and it will not be published. Now I could choose this now because I want to show you how it's a real study is being registered. But alternatively, it's because this is a training course, I could just choose this now, right? So that you just have an idea of it, because it's still the same thing. But in your own scenario, you're not going to choose this because you're not doing a training, you're doing the work itself. So you choose this. But for my case of this training, I'm just going to choose this. And now, because of the nature of Prospero currently, diagnostic and all of these things is not available now. So what I'm trying to say here is that you remember when I started this review, I talked about types of systematic reviews. Some of your reviews might be that prognostic or methodology or prevalence and all of that. But please, just this is the only one that you can choose. You can't choose any other one because this ones you can't choose it. So you choose that, and I'll just click on register your review, and then you see this, it will pop out all these things. So all these are like some of the things that I'll have to enter. I'll enter my title, I'll enter my eligibility criteria. Here is title, what condition, rationale, all those things from my introduction. I'll enter it, right? Don't worry, don't bother yourself, don't stress yourself, right? Just understand that you need to register. But towards the end, by then you should have understood some of these domain, like how to do eligibility criteria and all of that. Then you can now register it. It will still work fine. All right. Then we'll talk about availability. Maybe is there a protocol? Searching. How are we going to search? We tell them. This is how am I going to search for the partner? I will tell the marriage committee. This is how I'm searching. This is the keywords to use and all of that. Then the data collection process. How will I collect them? That's what I'm telling them. That is what we mean by registering. Then outcomes that will be analyzed. I'll talk about it. The plant synthesis. Am I going to do meta-analysis, narrative, or thematic? I'll tell them. Do you understand? All these things, current review stage, which stage am I now? I'll tell them. If you click on this thing, it will show you something like several stages. And okay, yeah. So currently now, all of us are here. We just started, right? We just started. Then by next week now, we'll be in this stage, this and this, hopefully, right? Which is simple and easy. So let me just go back. Then our affiliations, right? All of us here that participated in this internship in our respective groups will now add our names and team members, review our affiliation. I don't know where you guys came from. Some people came from Egypt, some came from Kanu, some came from all of that. We'll all fill that in. And then if there's any additional information like mesh terms, the terms we used in searching for literature, and then we'll submit, and that's that. So that is just basically a crash course. This is the shortest crash course on registering your manuscript. It's good practice. Just like I said, it's good practice for you to do. All right. So, but can you do that can you publish without registering? Of course you can. But then it is good. In short, I'll just say something. In one of these reviews here, you look at this here. Let me show you something. If you look at this method here, you see that usually where we state how we registered our Prospero, our systematic review, is usually at the beginning of our methodology. But this one wasn't registered as at when it was submitted. But let me show you something. You see that this one, This one was registered. So this is it. So if I click on this now, it should now give me the records of what was registered. Are you seeing it? Are you seeing it? This is what was registered. So that's what we mean by registering it. Though this is just it. I seen it. So this is it. Then we registered it. And so it means that it's good practice to register it. And it followed the Prisma guideline, which is this. So you see how simple it is to do a systematic review and how we've explained it in just brief seconds. So like I said, if you want to get nuanced understanding of each domains, more practical guide and all of that, you can just get our course. But then other than that, of course, you will definitely do what commence with this and all of that. Okay. So I think that is just that. It was quite important for me to introduce this session, for us to have, enough clarity. What we're expecting by next week is your introduction and your rationale grounded with literature. What we mean by grounded with literature is it has to be fortified with what? Enough what? Literature and claims. All right. The part about formulating research question and all of that, there might not really be so much need for that because we've already done the, what do you call it? We've already initiated the topic. So hoping to see you guys in my cluster if you're part of that. And of course, we have experts, our cluster leads are top notch at what they do. They always have so all these publications, most of them, they've been working on all of that. So you need to follow the instruction that they give to you. Remember, it's 1 month. By 30th, we are done. So this is not a while loop. In programming, we call it a while loop, an endless loop of clusters. So it means that on the 31st, you should be graduating, okay? And the only thing that should make you graduate and be certified following our internship is that you have completed the learning outcomes, because there is a tracker form that your cluster lead is going to provide to each and every one of you. And we are really looking out for the success of each and every one of you, right? The internship was made open for everybody. You guys all got the access, and we want you to maximize this opportunity. So I don't know, is there any question that you might want to ask? If there's any other further question, aside from, maybe I might take just 2 questions right now, but if there are other further questions, your cluster leads are definitely they're definitely going to be at the best hands to advise you and guide you in short, because this is just basically your introduction, all of that. Get started systematically. So I don't know if there are questions that you guys might want to ask me. Maybe I just want to take 2 questions before we wrap it up. Every other conversation, like I said, is going to be on you on the Google Classrooms. Okay. So are there questions, please? I want to entertain them.
Good evening. My name is Newton from Bayelsa State. So my question is, I want to find out, is it that the team leads are going to provide a topic or we have to formulate our own topic for the systematic review? Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay, so let me answer that question. When you applied for this internship, right, you saw if the flyer. Now, these are the research topics that we are going to be working on. All right. So the topics are already established. So what is going to happen right now is simple. The cluster leads are going to this week we are getting into now. We are getting started with writing our introduction. All right. So what you're going to do now is, let's take for example, I am in environmental health cluster. Our topic is now because maybe we are 13 there or 11. Our topic is a systematic review of youth-led, community-driven environmental initiative influence on environmental health, urban sustainability, and climate resilience in rapidly growing cities. That is our topic. So what happens now? Cluster lead will divide the work. Everybody here, go and draft your introduction, send it in before Wednesday. Your introduction. make sure you capture the rationale and and key statistics and all of that. So when you guys come together, you will now review what 13 of you have done and then choose the best out of it. Is that clear? Did I answer your question?
Thank you, sir.
All right. So I could show you this now. If you look at this publication here, you see that how many are we on this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Now, one of the strengths of a systematic review is that what? Is that people are collaborating in it. So we want to make sure each and every one of you participates ethically and grounded. Okay, all right, Choma.
Good evening, sir.
All right.
My name is Mbamonu Kuchama, Environmental Health Cohort. I don't know if you can go back to the topic given to environmental health. I noticed, I don't know how to say it, but while we did some seminar, we were told about our topic being precise. I'm looking at we having a, even if intervention, you have urban sustainability, we have climate resilience, and we have a, I don't know if you can, if that topic, if it's not too big or too, can I find the right word? I know you know what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying.
Yes,
So
I
I don't know
understand.
if
Yes,
we don't.
yes.
It's not really precise in
Okay,
checking in searching out literatures. We'll find we'll have issue there. Thank you.
okay, all right. Okay, all right, good. That's a good question. Okay. Now, that's the responsibility of your cluster lead, all right? Like I said, in infectious disease and global health and chronic diseases and chronic disease epidemiology cluster, uh, and also environmental health cluster, you guys are going to be further divided into two. So some people will pick one part, specific part. Some people will also pick one other part. Do you understand? So it's this is all the description of your what your cluster lead. That is definitely going to be done just for us to make sure there is effective participation. But this is the team area. Do you understand? So yeah, I don't know if I answered that question. So I think that is just going to be that. So sorry, as I've taken more than the stipulated time. If there is any other question, you can reach out uh, to your cluster lead. Somebody's asking how to properly cite. Okay, yes, I think I should have talked about that. The length of your introduction should be at least within the range of usually 500 to 600 words, just between that range, 400 to 600, 700, just that range, right? Of 400 to 600. Now you're asking about how to cite. We have insights on how to use reference manager on how to cite. It's still inside of the course. But if you also have a traditional means or ways of citing articles, how do you cite? You pick an author, you acknowledge them in the paper and all of that. So please, there
The
will
person
be.
is asking if it's Upper or Vancouver, not how
Oh,
to cite.
okay. All right. So now we are following the BMC guidelines. So, like I said, most of this, your cluster lead is going to provide it. So, I wouldn't answer their own questions, right? You have cluster leads that will definitely provide that. Your cluster lead is going to post a journal guideline that you guys are going to be targeting. Because, when I started this session, the first thing I did was to project published articles so that we will now have an idea of the endpoint, right? So, if in my cluster or any cluster, the first thing we'll do is to do what? This is the guide, this is the endpoint, this is where we are heading to, and this is what we are going to be doing. So the only thing you need to do now is just to follow. It's good to follow a journal guideline, but now it's still important at this beginner stage for us to see the authors. Something like reference approaches like APA lets us see the author list so that we can now know if there is any changes. It's easier to track. Then later on, at the ending, towards week 5 or week 4, we can now convert everything to the journal guide. But whichever way, your cluster lead definitely will guide you guys on that. So I guess that is definitely going to be that. So participants, you can, I wish you guys the very best. And we are looking forward to a very, very productive internship, very outstanding one. And I think,
Hi.
yes, okay. Yeah, other than
Yeah,
that,
I
okay, go
just
say
have one
something.
quick question.
Okay.
Like, I'm asking, like, for those people who are in a cluster whereby meta-analysis is not going to be performed. For example, I'm in machine learning cluster, and I see it's just a systematic review. It doesn't have the meta-analysis component. Does that mean that, like, such people in those clusters won't be learning meta-analysis, or?
All systematic reviews is going to be all review topics is going to be a systematic review. No meta-analysis will be conducted at this point because of the some complexities, right? So what we want to do, the idea is for us to develop insights on how to do a systematic review. So your cluster leads will definitely guide you guys. They provide some narrowed down and all of that. What we raised were themes, of literature, of areas that we're going to explore. So when we come into the cluster, the idea is for us to understand how to do a systematic review, right? So we wouldn't want to complicate the whole process of meta-analysis and all of that, maybe people running into quagmire and all of that. So we just want to keep it very simple, making sure you guys get the basic necessary insights and getting something submitted for publication. So all systematic reviews is going to be either narrative or thematic in nature. That's the synthesis type. So there won't be any meta-analysis at this stage. All right. So but probably maybe in the next course, if we have that time, we can of course do a crash course on meta-analysis, because meta-analysis might require some kind of crash course and all of that. But regardless, our goal is to make sure we answer the specified research question that has been designated to us. So this is actually one of some of the reasons why it was quite imperative for me to have this conversation with you guys. So I don't know if that is that. I believe,
Yeah,
yes.
that's it. But again, like, my last question. So sorry, like, for asking so many questions. Like,
Okay.
for example, like uh, after screening the studies, and maybe like we find out that all the studies we have, like, they have they have the same estimate measures or outcomes that cause, like, for performing a meta-analysis. So do you think are you saying that if after, like, screening the studies and they qualify, like, to proceed with the meta-analysis, we are going to just end at narrative synthesis, even if the studies qualify for meta-analysis?
Well, we anticipate heterogeneity. But regardless, we can make a case, a rationale for using narrative synthesis. Do you understand? We can always make a case because what we are doing now at this stage now, what we are doing now is to write our introduction. Then when we are done there, when we get those sorties, we wouldn't just narrow down on those quantities. We still want to get other areas so that participants will understand how to write a systematic review. I understand what you're saying, like doing a meta-analysis. Of course, we might want to do that, but the idea now is for us to follow an approach that will give beginners, that insight. So we don't really want to complicate so many things and all of that. But at this stage, if you want to do a systematic, at least you should be comfortable, textualizing it. All right. Even if you have outcomes and they are all homogeneous, as you said, all your outcomes are homogeneous, and you have a very strong case to do a meta-analysis, you can still textualize it by introducing some slight heterogeneous, that's an article that might have some kind of heterogeneous output. The idea here is that we want participants and everybody to be at the same page. Do you understand? Maybe, yeah, if you're in my cluster and you want to go multiply with meta, of course we can do that. That's even going to take us be much more simpler, for us to do bulletin and all of that. But the basis of this particular entity might not really cover so much on meta-analysis, right? I don't know if I answered your question, but for now, please, I don't really want, I want us to get things very clear. We are writing our introduction. After our introduction, the next thing is how to search, get literature with differences and all of that. Then before we go into that, please, I don't know if I answered your question, Mr. Isaac.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Really sorry for taking so much time. We definitely wanted to keep it at 1 hour, but because of today being our introductory session and all of that, there was need for us to kind of have some all time. Like we said, the course is definitely going to be posted, and yeah, if there are need for feedbacks, we would definitely be really ready to answer that. So thank you very much. The recording is going to be posted on the general group. Thank you very much, everyone. So our cluster leads is going to keep in touch. I don't know if I would have wanted to introduce our cluster leads. I think that was definitely going to be necessary. Uh, so I don't know. I'm going to start with the cluster lead for chronic disease and epidemiology. You could just, tell us your name and your maybe just give us an introduction. Then we move on to the other cluster leads. We just have 5 other cluster leads here who introduce themselves, and then we wrap up. Okay, do we have a cluster lead for epidemiology? Is that chronic disease and epidemiology? Precious, are you there?
Hello, good evening, baby. Good evening. Welcome everybody to this internship program. My name is Precious Anakora. I'm sorry I stepped out for a bit. And I am the chronic disease epidemiology cluster lead. So all of you that registered and chose chronic disease epidemiology, I will be coordinating the research topic, the research around what you signed up for. Okay, because we already defined our research question beforehand. So we are going to be working hand in gloves from the start to the finish this of this 1 month internship program. Thank you very much and have a good night.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Director of Research, for that particular explanation. Welcome. So, I don't know, for pharmaceutical and biomedical, are you here?
Introduction. Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Pharmacist Rejoicing, and I am so excited to be here. And I'm also excited to have you in the pharmaceutical and biomedical research. For those that are going to be it's going to be a beautiful ride, a 1 month of so much experiences. The experience will be massive. And thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that, Farm Rejoicing. For global health and infectious disease cluster lead, can you please introduce yourself? I want to be sure he's here. Global health and infectious disease. Can you introduce yourself? Okay, I guess, okay, probably his network or something. Okay, all right. So, traditional medicine and no, environmental health and climate change. Can you please introduce yourself?
Where all of them they now?
Olivia. Okay, I think she's here, probably, Annie. Olivia, can you introduce yourself? Okay, probably next one. Okay, is a traditional and consumer health research cluster lead here? Okay, all right. So I guess they have all been here, because from our previous sessions, we're going to be having like conversations around with them and all of that. So they are really, really very much ready to welcome you guys, and I trust it to be a very powerful one. Yeah, okay, yeah, you're here. They want for global health and infectious disease. Yeah, okay. Introduce yourself.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Chukwemeka Somtochukwu Promise, and I'll be the cluster head for global health and infectious diseases. We'll be looking at effectiveness of antimicrobial stewardship programs in reducing antimicrobial resistance and improving and prescribing practices in resource-limited settings. So it's actually going to be a very practical and interesting section. Where we've gone with this, I just crave your indulgence to give your attention as much as you can and follow gradually as we're going to go on with this. And at the end, you will be happy that you partook on it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. You're really, really welcome. So, thank you so much, participants, for keeping you till now. We sincerely apologize for that, and we hope that we really swing into action. So, thank you very much, everyone, and good night.